My next guest is a former competitive swimmer who went into the Australia event this year with a plan to set a new swim record. And he did just that in a time of 2:14:49. He started triathlon just 2 years ago, and now this 28-year-old from Tasmania is the Australia champion in 2025. Welcome to the 515 podcast, Tim Belstead.
G'day, Larry. Thanks for having me, mate. Yeah, it's pretty cool to be on my first podcast, so we'll see how this goes.
Oh yeah, well, hey, I always try and make them pretty easy for everybody to come on, and I'm not going to hit you with anything that you're not prepared to answer. I don't think there's no gotcha questions coming up, so just enjoy it, and we want to hear some stories about how this race went for you.
Sounds good. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
I would like to start off by just playing your finish video. As people from the podcast will know, we did live stream the entire event this year, and we have your finish being called by none other than Tim Franklin. So I'm gonna play that for you, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Sounds good.
Belstead, who is going to be our 2025 Ultraman Australia champion. Like I said before, he swam 2 hours, 14 minutes on day one. That's 10 kilometres. He then rode 4 hours, 26. He had a day one time, putting him in first place at 6:41. He then went out yesterday and rode 8:51 to be the fastest on day two. He was leading overall after 2 days in a time of 15 hours and 33 minutes and 15 seconds. He then put together the run today. He's going to come out the finish line. He has battled through this last 42.2 Ks. I know he's going to love this. Let's make some proper noise, ladies and gentlemen. Our first time finisher, athlete 37 from Tasmania in Australia, your 2025 Ultraman Australia champion, Tim Belstead. Congratulations, Timmy. Awesome work. Surrounded by his coach, his mates, and his mum and dad have been there for the whole ride. Amazing journey. He got the job done. Congratulations, Tim.
So I don't know if you had a chance to see that video before of the finish. I'm just wondering what it was like for you watching that back again to see that finish.
Yeah, that finish was pretty special. I've got the opportunity to watch it from a few different angles, but not the actual broadcast angle. So, yeah, you probably saw at the end there. I turned around to point to the Gadomsky Fellowship logo, which is something I wanted to do. I actually wanted to write for Alex on my forearms, but the pen that I took with me, Jordan Gadomsky, my cousin who was running in with me, we went to write on my arms, and I was so sweaty that it just wasn't sticking. So I turned around to point to the logo, and yeah, nearly got cleaned up by mum there. So that was a close call. Also noticed giving my brother James Belstead a bit of a cuddle at the end there. I reached for my watch to obviously stop the run, because we all know that if it's not on Strava, then it doesn't really count. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Doesn't count. You want to get that watch stopped so that you don't add any extra time onto that double marathon, obviously. And then at the finish line, you also had Jason Clark as the person who gave you your finisher's medal. What did that mean to you?
Yeah, that was super special. So yeah, Jason and I go back a few years before my triathlon days. He's probably the main reason well, he's definitely the main reason I found out about this event. And also, yeah, probably one of the main reasons I got into triathlon. Yeah, he's been there for me over the years, particularly when I've faced a few dark times. So for him to be handing me the finisher medal at the end there was super special, and I think it's a memory we'll both probably cherish for forever.
Yeah. It's always special to be surrounded by those people that love you at the finish line. Your crew was made up of cousins, and your family was there, obviously, and your brother. And you mentioned a little bit earlier about the Alex Gadomsky Fellowship. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that is, and why you were using that as an inspiration for you?
Yeah, so my cousin Alex, he passed away of bone marrow failure syndrome at the age of 21. And so there's a fellowship named after him down here in Tasmania as part of Matty Rewalt's vision, which is the overseeing foundation. And what the Alex Gadomsky Fellowship does is it actually funds research for bone marrow failure syndrome. It funds researchers to actually look into this kind of stuff and find a cure right here in Hobart. Yeah, so that's pretty special.
Yeah, it certainly is. And then when you're out there and you're coming into the finish and you're there with the other cousins, is Alex coming up to your forethoughts?
Yeah, to be honest, I think he was probably with me the entire time out there, and I really drew some strength and energy from him when I was facing some pretty difficult times out there. So yeah, he was definitely watching over us.
Well, you excuse me. Well, you were certainly out there leading the way for most of the race. Tim called out some of your numbers. We'll just quickly go over them again in case people weren't able to pick those out in Tim's call at the finish line, and that is that you had a 2:14:49 swim, which beat the previous record of 2:25:43. 10-minute smashing of that. A 4:26:58 bike on day one for a total time of 6:41:47. Now, you were actually saying that you were going to go for that record, and I'm just going to play a little clip for you now about that.
I haven't really thought about goal times, to be honest. Yeah, I'm putting it out there. I'm going for the swim course record. So that's a 2:25. I'm really gunning for that, and I'd like to think that I'll be hopefully under 8 hours every single day.
Well, you got that record and you got under 8 hours on day one. What was day one like for you?
Yeah, I kind of went into this race thinking that day one was going to be fun, day two was going to be really mental, and day three was going to be physical. And yeah, that's kind of how it played out. Yeah, due to injury, I've spent a lot of time in the pool over the last 6 months, and I've kind of used that swim course record as a bit of a goal to kind of keep my head in the game and keep working towards this event. So to be able to get that was super cool.
Hmm. And you are a former competitive swimmer. So to what level were you getting in swimming?
Yeah, so I've broken a couple Tasmanian junior records, and I made a couple national finals at Australian Championships when I was a junior. And yeah, I kind of gave the sport away a little bit when I got to 18. But yeah, I actually went back to playing soccer, which I played as a real little kid.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I did my ACL after a couple of years, so I ended up finding my love for being back in the pool again, which is paying dividends for triathlon.
Yeah, they say that you can't win a triathlon in the water, but you can definitely lose one. It gave you a pretty big head start out there on day one. What were the conditions like for you as you were riding around on the day one course?
Oh yeah, I spent a lot of my time on the bike indoors, Zwifting around. So, but I'm not unaccustomed to some bad weather being located in Hobart, but that was definitely probably the worst conditions I've ever ridden in. It was super challenging, and also not fully knowing the course made it difficult. Like it was hard to know whether I was able to, send it down some of these hills. And I spent probably the most time on the brakes that I have in any race that I've ever done.
Oh yeah. And you did have a pretty busy season last season with races. You've only been doing triathlon for a couple of years, but you did Ironman Cairns, the Multisport World Championships, and the 70.3 World Championships, all in 2024. Um, do you feel like those races were enough to prepare you to jump up to the 5:15 distance?
To be honest, I'm not sure if anything can really prepare you for your first 5:15 distance. Yeah, I've never ridden a bike after swimming 10K, and I've never ridden more than 180 kilometers in one go before. So it was, yeah, I've learned a lot in the last couple of years, and I've raced a lot in hope that I'd be able to gain as much experience as possible. And generally, something will go wrong in a race, and you've just got to learn how to deal with it. And I think that, yeah, racing so much last year, I was prepared to overcome whatever I needed to be able to finish the event.
And you took on a coach last year who was your team captain at this event and out on the course with you. So can you tell me about that? Who that was and how that might have helped you to prepare for this and the other races last year?
Yeah, definitely. So my coach is Jolt Dallos. He's the head coach at ZD Endurance. And yeah, I've been with him for well, ever since I did my first half Ironman. I was like, oh, I've got to find someone to tell me what to do because I really don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, and I've been with him ever since, and we've been on a real journey together. My first half Ironman, I did it in 5 hours 38. And I was like, nah, I'm hitting up Jolt, and we're gonna go to work. And 16 weeks later, I was able to take over an hour off my time
Oh,
at the half
amazing.
Ironman ends. So yeah, and from there we've just been progressing. Yeah, as you said, I was able to make the Australian team to for the multi-sport championships, which were in Townsville last August, and then yeah, I also raced at the 70.3 World Champs as well. So progressing nicely.
Hmm. And is there an opportunity for you to maybe go back to New Zealand in the future? Is there any race that might draw you to go back there again?
Yeah, well, New Zealand is actually quite close to my home. I can get a direct flight over to New Zealand. So the announcement of a potential New Zealand in 2026 could be a little lure to get me on a flight over there late. Yeah, but we'll see. This race is still pretty fresh.
Yeah, they say sometimes that it's a little bit like giving birth to a child that after a while you forget about that pain and then you're ready to do the next one.
Yeah, well, I won't be birthing any children, but yeah, we'll see what comes out of this one.
On day two, you got an 8:51:28, and again the conditions were not that improved over day one. It was a very miserable day out there on the course. Um, how did day two come about for you? How did you find it? And I know you were trying to get under 8 hours each day, but were you happy with your 8:51 given the conditions?
Yeah, at the end of the day, that my 8 hours under each day was kind of a goal for some better conditions for sure. I went into day two and I didn't have a very good bike light. So once the police escort left us, I kind of had to sit in with a few athletes so I could actually see where I was going for the first
Oh,
half hour.
wow.
Um, after that time, yeah, I set off up the road. To try and get to the lead. And I got the lead probably about 50 kilometers in. And just as we were leaving the like the no support zone, I managed to get a flat, and lost the lead again. And so I had two wheel changes, and also I lost the gears on my base bar for my rear derailleur
Oh my
within
goodness.
within the first 70 kilometers of racing. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be a long day. So I ended up just, yeah, knuckling down, doing what I could, um, work my way back to the front. And unfortunately, they made us aware in the briefing that there'd be some roadworks out on course.
Right.
And the light for the roadworks was going to be about 3.5 minutes. And so sure enough, I see the roadworks and I see the light and I see it go red and I'm like, right, I'm here for the full 3.5 minutes. And I was like, right, I'll get some nutrition in, have a bit of a stretch of the back. And the car at the front of the line I'm not sure what they did, but there was an intersection coming off the side of where the roadworks were, and they decided they would drive out to see if there were any cars coming down to see if they could actually move forward. And they've set off the intersection light. So I ended up catching a double red light, and I was stationary there for over 7 minutes, I believe, and the rest of the guys caught me. And so I felt a bit defeated then. I took off last out of the four of us, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna sit for a while." And we all copped the next red light, and I was like, "You know what? Nah, I'm gonna actually extend." So from there, I took off. I was in unknown territory there. Well, over 180 kilometers. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen to my body, to my mind. So we'll just push it and we'll see what happens. I think there are about 15 red lights out on course, and I copped 13 of them, I believe. I think I only got two greens, followed by the fact that I was following my map on my bike computer. And we were back into Noosa. We were probably about 2 kilometers from the finish, and I, I saw an arrow on the screen to turn, but I didn't see an arrow on the roundabout. And so I've done a loop of the roundabout just to check to make sure I was going the right way because my bike computer was telling me to turn. And so I went out around this turn, and I realized that was the turn from the morning. And the map was still showing from the 5:30 start that morning. So I ended up adding on an extra couple of minutes to my ride, less than 2 kilometers from the finish line. So yeah, I was pretty glad to actually make it to the finish line in first place after a pretty tough day, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. And I talked to Kirsty as well, and she said that catching up to you at the light was not the way she wanted to catch up to you.
Yeah,
Um,
all the guys were pretty they were like, "Oh, this is so unfair that we've caught you," or whatever. But that's part of the game. We're aware that we have to follow road rules. There's going to be traffic. You're going to have to ride in the rough shoulder sometimes, and
right.
I don't know. I think that's what makes this event different. It's just all part of it. So yeah.
Yeah. And that is why the crew is also so important to your race, is to maybe get a look at that course for you to get up ahead, and if they see something they can come back and warn you, or just to help you make those turns and not miss a turn. um, Within your crew, we said that you've had your coach there. You also had your brother. We when we were doing the preview episode, we were going with some of the notes from what you presented, and we noticed that you were kind of making fun of your brother a little bit. So we thought you were going to be a good person out there to bring some good humor to the course. You making fun of his national masters record. Maybe well, tell us why did you add that in, and what is his record?
Yeah, so my brother James, he has a national masters 1500 meters breaststroke record. And so quite often, we'll be having a family dinner, we'll be talking about, some of my achievements or whatever. And quite often he'll bring up, yeah, but you don't have a national record. Um, and so, yeah, he's kind of got that one over me. But I like to poke a bit of fun at it because, yeah, I don't think you'll be seeing me doing a 1500 meters breaststroke anytime soon.
No, who does?
Yeah,
Uh,
he likes to pick some unusual events, and I guess so do I doing something like this.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And now you can take the championship on that one and hold that one over him.
That's exactly
Um,
right.
yeah. So on day three, um, we heard that you were struggling in your training due to a stress fracture, and we were wondering just how you were going to go on the run. In day three, you did run with Kirsty up to the marathon mark, crossing in 3:28 and a few seconds. But at that point, you decided to kind of let her go on that. I guess you felt like maybe you had enough in the bank to still hold on to the championship, or were you concerned? Were you worried about that, the fact that you might allow that hour and 12 minutes or whatever it was lead that you had coming into day three? Were you concerned that it might slip away?
Yeah, so suppose we rewind to December. I raced at the 70.3 Ironman World Champs with a stress fracture in my femur. Unfortunately, we got a scan 2 days after the event. We kind of knew what it was going to be. Um, However, that was actually diagnosed as just a stress reaction. And so I continued on with some training that I probably shouldn't have done. I got a rescan 6 weeks later, and it turns out I had a 1 centimeter crack in my femoral neck.
Oh,
Um, so run training this year has almost been non-existent. Um, I started running about 6 weeks ago, and that started off with, I believe it was 20 minutes where I was running for 3 minutes or jogging for 3 minutes and walking for 2 minutes. And so that's kind of the level that we started at. Um, my longest run in the lead up to the event was 16 kilometers, which I'd done a week before, and I pulled up pretty sore from that.
wow.
I went to the doctor 2 days after that run, so a few days before the event, and he was like, "Yeah, so you're pulling out of the event, right?" And I was just like, "Yeah, yeah." So I went into day three really not knowing. I didn't have a plan. I was like, I just need to see what I can do. Um, I took off, and yeah, I was like, "Oh, I'm just going to run until I can't." Really started struggling, honestly, from just over 30 kilometers in. And at that point, I was in the lead. After a few hills, Kirsty decided to walk up the hills, and my leg feels more comfortable going up hills than on the flat and down hills. So I decided I would push the hills. And so I was actually in the lead for a little bit there, and she bridged the gap and took the lead. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to hang on for as long as I can. I was like, I'm just, yeah, I'll just follow, try and get in as much nutrition as I can, and just see what happens. And I was really in the hurt locker quite early on.
Mm,
I got towards the halfway mark, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to treat myself. I had a spare pair of shoes. I was like, I'm gonna put some new shoes on, new socks, because we had to run through a lot of puddles.
right.
I'm going to put a singlet on. It's starting to get a bit warmer. And so I pretty much did a full kit change at the halfway mark. And to be honest, that was probably a massive error. Once I stopped, I found it really, really hard to get going again.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I've only run a marathon off the back end of an Ironman, so to get to that turn mark and know that I had to run all the way back, I was like, yeah, I don't really know what I'm in for. I thought that a new pair of shoes and a new kit would kind of freshen me up a little bit and switch me back on. But by that stage, yeah, Kirsty had gone up the road. And Boris, who was in third place at the time, he had passed me as well, and I kind of lost those guys and battled my way home.
Yeah, and on the way home, were you thinking about your lead, or were you just trying to get to the finish line and not concerned about winning the race at that point, or was the competitiveness there? Were you getting reports back about how much they were opening up on you? What was going on in the crew vehicle for you guys?
Yeah, so I think we first probably got a split after about I think it was 60 kilometers roughly. And yeah, I was like, oh, Kirsty's got a fair lead on me now. And I was constantly getting splits, to be honest. What the gap was, and at one stage, yeah, close to the end, it was like had gone out to like 40 minutes, and by that stage, I was doing a lot of walking. I was in a lot of pain.
Mm,
I was limping. My knee had swollen up massively. The way I was limping, my other foot, like my good side, was bruising, and yeah, I was really battling out there. But we got some splits, and we kind of worked out what I needed to do, and really we got to probably the game winning moment, I suppose you'd call it. Jordan
mm,
Gadomsky, my cousin, he was with me for that last 10K, and we got to up. To be honest, I can't really remember. My brain was absolutely fried, but I think it was about 81 kilometers. And he was like, "Look, mate, if you run or jog the next 1 kilometer, we'll be able to walk most of the way back, and you'll be able to wrap this up with a couple of minutes to spare." And so I'd been walking for a fair bit at that time, and yeah, I just pushed through. I was like, I can do 1 more kilometer. Yeah, 1 more kilometer, and then we got to 1 kilometer. He's like, oh, we might as well round it up to the point three. So now you've only got 3 kilometers to go. And so I ended up running 1,300 meters, and it was probably the hardest 1,300 meters of my life. And but yeah, from there we knew I was gonna take the win, and I guess I was able to kind of soak it up and enjoy running along the beach with my or hobbling along the beach with my family, coach friends. So yeah, it was nice to be able to soak up that special moment coming up the sand as much as I really just wanted to stop.
Yeah, and so like I said, you were a 3:28 going out and you were nearly 5 hours coming back. I can only imagine how that felt on the way back when the time is growing in that amount. And
Yeah,
and
not the most impressive split, that's for sure.
uh, so maybe it's a little bit of credit to Kirsty for running you out as quick as she did to get you to that finish line in time.
Oh, she's a phenomenal competitor. And it was, to be honest, the first 21K, there were a little group of us and we are all chatting and laughing, and that was super enjoyable. We had our paces with us, yeah, it was really nice just to run as a group. I said to them, I said, hey guys, thanks. I've just done my longest run of the year. And we'd only been running, yeah, for not even an hour and a half at that stage. So we had a bit of a chuckle at that. And then, yeah, from then, yeah, from the turnaround, it was kind of every man and woman for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. And you also had Simon Cochran run out with you for that first 10K as well. What was it like having Simon alongside you?
Yeah, that was cool. That bloke was hardly even breathing while we were all puffing along. So we had a good chat, and yeah, he's an absolute awesome bloke, and it was cool to get some insights. He was saying something about how he just come back from a 200 miler or something ridiculous. So he was kind of flexing on his achievements and his ability while we're out there just trying to get done a double marathon. So yeah, good on you, Simon.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were talking to Simon while he was running with you because he was filming for us. That was great. And we were talking about that 200-mile race, and we couldn't get him to say that he had won it. Like we had known, like me and Steve King were talking to him. We knew he won it, and we're like, "Oh, you did quite good at that race, or did quite well at that race, didn't you?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, it's okay."
Yeah, well, I don't think he mentioned that he won, so maybe I'm painting a picture of Simon that he's a bit more arrogant than he actually is. So no, he's an absolute legend, and it was awesome to have him there and pick his brain a little bit, particularly post race, and just yeah, see what makes him tick a little bit.
Yeah, I think all the athletes really enjoyed meeting Simon at the race, and they were talking to him before the race, between days, and stuff like that, like you said, and just trying to get those extra insights into, you know, what it takes to finish one of these events, let alone finish it in a world record time like he did.
Yeah, absolute like a phenomenal athlete. It's yeah, for him to go 4 hours quicker than what I did. Like yeah, it's hard to put those numbers together and work out where it all comes from. So yeah, super impressive.
Well, you didn't quite get under your 8 hours again on day three, but you did get the championship, as we said. You were there under. Um, sorry, you were there for 23:55:06. So if you take the 3 day average, you got under your 8 hours each day. So good on you on that.
Yeah, that's it. I was probably a bit naive in thinking I'd be able to get under 8 hours, maybe with some better conditions. Yeah, that would have been possible. But overall, to be under 24 hours, that was kind of, yeah, I guess I didn't really know what to aim for going in, but I thought that 24 hours was a realistic number that I could try and achieve. So yeah, to be able to do that's pretty cool. But at the end of the day, just finishing the event was super special.
Yeah, and for your team captain and coach Zolt, he's a pretty quick guy too. He does a sub 9 hour Ironman. Is he going to be lining up to do an Ultraman or UM race?
I don't think so. He was more than happy to support, and I think that's the extent that that goes for him.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, One more thing that I just wanted to touch on with you that we had in our pre-interview, and that is that you've taken on triathlon now, and it's kind of like your current addiction, and sometimes we find that people that I talk to on this podcast, they find they have an addiction issue to triathlon, and quite often it's takes over for a more negative type of addiction that they've had in the past. It's just that addictive personality needs a place to go, and you've had some of those issues as well before. Can you tell us a little bit about what was happening for you, and then maybe how this is now your way of dealing with that?
Yeah, so I've definitely faced my fair share of mental health issues, and I think that yeah, finding triathlon was really good for me. It definitely got me out of a few holes, and like I said to you, Larry, like I think I've got an addictive personality, and at the moment I'm using that, I guess you'd say, in a space that's a lot more healthier, and enjoyable, and saves me a lot more money.
And that's saying something because this is not a cheap sport that you're involved with at this point.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, the amount that I've spent on triathlon has been insane. It's quite an eye opener for what it actually takes to be able to compete in this sport, and it's probably the biggest downside is the expenses of this sport. But I've had a lot of friends that have joined in and jumped in on some triathlons over the last couple of years since seeing me do it, and I always say to them, you don't need all the top gear to get started. My first triathlon, I rode a road bike that my brother and I shared. That was, I think it was 12 years old. I didn't have carbon shoes, and I just had an ocean weddy, which I already had, but that was something like 8 years old when I first started. Um, and I kind of always tell people that in this sport, you don't really need all the good gear to get started, and to focus on just kind of improving yourself, and finding your limits. And it's, yeah, been super rewarding for me, both physically and mentally. Yeah, since starting triathlon, and I'm loving it at the moment.
So what races are you looking at doing now? What do you have on the future list?
So I'm going to have a bit of a break now. I need to get this femur sorted. So yeah, I've got a scan and a doctor's appointment coming up over the next couple of weeks. So realistically, the rest of the year will kind of be based on the results from that. I'm hoping to make the Australian team, to race at the Wollongong Olympic Distance World Championships. However, unfortunately, I didn't do any selection events for that event. So I'll be based on some previous results to see if I get picked up in that team. From there, I'm going to race at Melbourne 70.3, and then I want to have another crack at a full Ironman. So I'll be heading to Busselton in December, if all goes to plan.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful course out there.
Yeah, I've not done Busselton, so yeah, we'll be heading out west and see what that's all about.
And there were a couple of WA athletes out at the Australia this year. Were you able to connect up with them?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know where most people came from, but I was, yeah, able to talk to so many people, and I think the awards day, yeah, day four, I didn't realize how long that was going to go, and for everyone to come up and congratulate me, and just to share everyone's stories out there. You don't really hear about everyone else's adversity that they have to go through on the race course, so it's really nice to hear those stories, and I've definitely made a few more mates since doing the event.
Yeah, and that's when I talk to people about the podcast, this is one of the reasons why I continue to do it is it's meeting people like you and getting the opportunity to hear the stories and share those stories with everyone else, and that whole idea of the Ohana and the Ultra Tribe just growing as each one of these events takes place is the way to meet all these people and to then have those connections moving forward, because now anytime you're out in the world, if you need something and you're somewhere and you're like, hey, I'm here and can I borrow a bike or can I borrow something, and it's like someone is going to be there for you that is part of this tribe, and that's the amazing part about being a member of it, I think.
Yeah, most certainly. I was kind of told about how you kind of join this family as you go through one of these events, and I didn't really understand it until I completed it. But yeah, I definitely get it now, and it's super cool to be a part of, and yeah, it's really special.
Yeah. Well, during the live streaming, I was putting up different graphics for the various disciplines and who the top five people were historically in the race. So I did do an update on one. So I want to show you that one. There's the new graphic of the swim times with the photo of Tim Belstead there.
Hopefully that one stays around for a little while now.
Yeah, I think it probably might. You've got a really good time there, and you did it in not ideal flat conditions in the water. So maybe you have to come back yourself in order to try and beat that one.
Yeah, it was far tougher out in the ocean than I thought it was going to be. That's for sure. So maybe it could be a little quicker. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll wait till it's broken before I think about that too much.
Okay. Well, Tim, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast and telling us about how your race went. It's an elite group of people that you have joined with only being the 10th anniversary of the race that can say that they are UM champions in Australia. So congratulations on that once again, and good luck with healing up and getting the rest of those races in for this year.
Thanks, mate, and thanks to you for all your work that you've done. Yeah, it was super special to be able to have friends and family and co-workers and everyone checking in from at home. So thank you to you as well.
Oh yeah, no problem. That's what I want to tell those stories. So thank you for providing the actual racing so that they can watch that. That's the hard part, my friend. That's the hard part.
That's the easy part, I think, but we can agree to disagree. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, mate.